only talking about female sexuality that men complain about, oh, women control access to sex and women in relationships, they don't give it to you. It's men that shame women for their sexuality. You hear more men complain about OnlyFans than you hear women complaining about OnlyFans. You hear more men complain about twerking than you hear women complaining about twerking. You hear more men criticizing and shaming women for their body count than you hear women shaming men for their body count. So men spend so much energy and effort and time creating religions and policies and shaming tactics to try and control women's sexuality just to then gaslight them and say, women, men need sex and women try and keep it away from you. Dude, what are you talking about? Man, what are you talking about? What are they talking about? It literally doesn't make any sense. It makes absolutely zero sense whatsoever. It is absurd. Even when you think about the Madonna whore complex, that a woman is either a whore or she's a Madonna, that's a male manufactured thing. That's nothing to do with women. So when you're telling women that when they are sexual, that means that they're a whore and they're no longer a Madonna or marriage material, you are creating this system. What the hell does it have to do with women at all? Think about something like, oh, women should have a low body count and men should have a high body count. Who the hell are these men supposed to be having sex with? Who the hell are these men supposed to be having sex with to get their body count up while women's body count is a no? Who are they supposed to be having sex with?
We've all heard of girl math, so let's take a moment and discuss old man math and old man logic. Young men should have fun and date around in their 20s, better known as have sex with many women. Young women should not have fun and date around in their 20s because they'll hit a wall at the age of 28 and no man will want to marry them and their body count will be too high to be taken seriously. Young women should date and marry old men because old men are more financially established than young men. Wanting a man for his money makes women gold diggers. Old women should date and marry men at least 10 years older because young men and men their age won't want them. But what they should really do is go live in a cave because older men won't want them either because they were too dumb to not marry an older man when they were in their 20s. Men in their 20s and early 30s should have sex with many women. Then at 35, find a hot young virgin to marry, but he shouldn't marry her without having sex with her first, in case the sex isn't good. Young women should be virgins, but be porn stars in bed with their husbands. Young women in their 20s should focus on getting a husband instead of focusing on their careers, because they'll start to lose their value at 28 because men don't care about women's income or degrees. Men shouldn't have to pay alimony or child support if they get divorced because she wasn't shooting with him in the gym, also known as she shouldn't have a right to any of his money since she didn't help him make it. Women control access to sex and men control access to marriage. Men shouldn't marry in their 20s, but they should have sex with a lot of women. Women shouldn't have sex with a lot of men in their 20s, but they should marry in their 20s. Whether or not you're a Christian, always remember that the 3 most powerful weapons used against you are shame, self-doubt, and confusion.
Men are like, oh, women should have a low body count and men should have a high body count. Who the hell are these men supposed to be having sex with? Who the hell are these men supposed to be having sex with to get their body count up while women's body count is a no? Who are they supposed to be having sex with?
That's the part I never understood. But go ahead.
I never understood. I just don't understand what they're talking about. What are they talking about?
They will, for 100%. Like I said, me personally, like I said, I have my, but which is why I'm married, right? Well,
like, come on, man, this is so tired.
I've been out the game for over 23 years, right?
Tired.
And so me, I know how I view promiscuous women. I know how I view, women who leave very little to the imagination, all the time. I'm not saying sometimes or, when the time is, beach or whatever, swimming pool party, whatever the hell it is, right? But like all the time, right? I would be one of those dudes complaining about certain things, but at the same time, I also walk it like I talk it, right? I agree. Yeah, the dudes who are, complaining about the OnlyFans girls and complaining about the women in hip, the new rap, the new women in rap, pretty much, right? And the things they say and so on and so forth, right? Yeah, it's kind of and then of course the girls are repeated and everything is like twerking now, blah blah blah. I get it, but fam, when we go to your For You page on Instagram, what is it looking like, right? What if we had to do an incognito, search on the things you've been watching, like, what are we, you know what I mean? So it's just kind of like, but it's just like women, there are no good women anymore, and da 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 da, and it's kind of like, yeah, you may have a point, but then IG model chick number 7,422 just, oh my God, I must like her picture so she can know how much I admire how she looks. I must like her pictures. And these are dudes in relationships doing this stuff too, on top of that. With their like name out there. It's like, you know, we can see that you like this, right?
Yeah,
And,
but that's the thing, it's absurd. It's absurd. And like you were saying, honey, sorry to cut you off, but it's absurd. Because it's absurd because it's one thing if a man has a value, like you were saying, you feel like whatever value you might have in terms of how you view how women, I guess, carry themselves, but you should be living it too. But the fact that you are complaining about these things and yet you are the biggest partaker of these things is just absolutely ridiculous. It just doesn't make any sense. It's like, what? You're the biggest consumer.
It's basically,
what are you talking about?
It's basically consumers complaining about the quality of food while continuing to pay for the quality of food, pretty much, and not doing anything about it. I mean, I don't know.
And not doing it, right.
Well, stop buying it, you know? If you stop buying it, which dudes literally buy, because you have to pay for only.
But the issue is that this is the thing, right? When we're talking about it's when we're talking about and this is the issue, right? Even when we talk about something like leadership, I think what men collect. I'm not talking about on an individual basis. Each individual man is his own man. I'm not talking about individual. I'm talking about in a collective basis in terms of the public narratives is what I'm referencing, right? So you'll often hear men talking about things like leadership. Women don't let you lead them. Your incoherent, incongruent public narrative is why women cannot trust you to lead them. Because in order for you to be a trustworthy leader, you have to stand firm on your morals and your values and your integrity. You have to say what you're going to do, and you have to do what you're going to say. You can't walk around just talking out of both ends, the lasso top and the one behind you. You can't. You have to live what you say that whatever it is that you say you want for the society to look like, you have to live it yourself.
Yeah. People.
Is that not understood?
No, it's not. Whatever. Okay. It's just, look, women can dress however they want. Women can do whatever they want. Again, that's just me. Right.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's, they're complaining about something while being consumers of that thing that they're complaining about. And so which one is it? You know what I mean? And so it just creates this weird thing. And but the thing is that for me, it's difficult because I agree with them. I agree that, oh my God, this music is way too raunchy now, right? I agree that the lyrics in music is crazier, and you know, women now wear see-through dresses and bikinis to CVS. Now, I literally saw this, like, and so, well, yeah, and so,
yeah. Here's another one. So, oh no, go ahead, baby, go ahead.
Yeah, and so, you know, piggybacking off of that, one of the things that men say, like, oh, you know, the reason why they're just gonna stay single or they're just gonna not get married anymore is because of how quote unquote loose the women are now. Sorry, how loose these I said the women's how loose whatever. Yeah, how you know, loose the women are now, and how they don't have any standards, and you know, where the real women anymore, things like that, and so on and so forth. But again, like I said, it's as women, you know, people go through Instagram and they scroll, they see what they see, and they're kind of like, okay, that's interesting, right? And so, not very believable. You were gonna say something.
Yeah, I think there's two things. I think number one, well, there's three things actually. Number one, something that I hear often is that when we're talking about things like marriage or relationships, that about women being wired, there's this idea that women are wired for monogamy and men are not, right? There's just this idea. So firstly, I will say that monogamy means being married to one person. It doesn't mean having sex with one person. I know that in our culture, we've turned it, we've started using it as monogamy means sex with one person. Monogamy means married to one person, and polygamy is married to multiple people. It does not mean sex with one person. Do you understand what I'm saying? But we do use it that way, but that's not what it means.
That's what I was going to ask you. Why do we use it that way then?
It just, things happen. We just start to use, we start to to use terms in a particular way. So, for example, it's more accurate to say polyamory if you're talking about sex and with multiple people, maybe even open relationship. I don't know, whatever term you want to use. I don't know. But my point is that monogamy really truly means you're married to one person, and polygamy is you're married to multiple people. So you have more than one wife or whatever. That's what it means. So when people say the thing about women being wired for monogamy and men not being wired for monogamy, I think people don't recognize, number one, that monogamy was not created by women. It was created by men. The primary pusher of monogamy is the church. The women have not been, for the majority of the church, even allowed in leadership roles to even make decisions about what should or shouldn't be done. So men putting this expectation of that it's women forcing them into monogamy, I would challenge you to think about that a little bit deeper. The other thing that I'm going to say is that when it comes to something like monogamy, it is not that, or if I use the term monogamy as in sex with only one person, it is not that women are wired for sex with one person and one penis for life and she's satisfied with that and men are not. That is not what it is. I think men and people in general often confuse the fact that women view monogamy as safety and security and protection. That has nothing to do with sexual desire. They're two completely different things. It is a practical and pragmatic decision to say that, you know what, it is safer for me to do this thing than it is for me to do that thing. That doesn't have anything to do with sexual desire. I think that people often forget that. If you ever want to know whether or not women are wired to only think about one person for life, if you would have to be able to get into her thoughts and her fantasies. That's where you're really going to see what the desires really are. But again, when we're talking about monogamy, we're talking about women making a practical, pragmatic decision. You understand what I'm saying? She's saying it is safer to do this and it is more practical to do this. That is what it really is about. It has nothing to do, it's not about sexual desire. I just wanted to say that because I'm just so overhearing this concept that women, for some reason, she'll be attracted to a bunch of men, but once she meets her husband, something happens in the brain to where she's no longer, you know, it's only one.
Yeah.
That's not what happens. That's not what it is.
I guess it's good to lie to yourselves, you know, like to, you know, that's the validation you're looking for. You're the only one for her, this, that, and the other.
That's not what it is. It's that she loves you. And because often men will be like, oh, it's men sacrificing, only having sex with one person. It's like, sir, you don't know the quality of the sex in your relationship. You don't know what that lady's going through. When it comes to that, you have no freaking idea. Because women are also conditioned to fake it. So you have no freaking idea. But at the end of the day, when men get to complain about things like, oh, she stops giving it to you and she doesn't want to give it to you anymore. Have you stopped to ask yourself, have you ever been around someone who loves and enjoys something, but you have to beg them to give it, to do it? Usually if you have to beg someone to do something, it's because they don't enjoy it. Because it's usually not a good thing. So how about we go backward? How about we go backward and we say, okay, firstly, before you start complaining about how much sex you are or not having a relationship, step back and really think, okay, maybe there's an issue of enjoyment in my marriage. Maybe there's an issue of enjoyment in my relationship. Do you understand what I'm saying? I think that's and I mean, you want her to crave something that she's not enjoying. It doesn't make any sense. Do you understand what I'm saying? It just doesn't make. And then on top of that, you don't want to do any foreplay or be emotional with her. You just want to tap her and be like, "Hey, give me access now. I am your husband, and it is my right to have access." What are you talking about?
To piggyback off of that, I forgot to mention this one thing. I think we may or may not have touched a little bit, but it's how much men police women's sexuality, while also being bothered that women don't give them access to their sexuality. Like it's like a like again, it's like back to which one is what the
simply because your bills are paid does not create desire. So I know it's an absurd example, but I'm using it just to try my best. Yeah, go ahead, honey. Go ahead.
I was trying to, but I know where it comes from. Think about it.
Yeah.
We're again set up by the patriarchy. We're in a hypergamous society.
Yeah.
And also, we're in this, they don't want access to this thing. And in order to get this thing, they have to buy a drink. They have to dog and pony show. I must take her out. I must feed her. I must, and then, okay. And afterwards, I get some, right?
Yeah.
And it's transactional.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens is they don't leave that mentality. And they're like, okay, well, by the way, if they're paying the bills,
on top of that, because they have the same expectation, even if they're not. So, that's a good point. Yeah.
If they're paying the bills, right? If they're doing that, and it's like, well, I paid the lights and the water and the rent or the mortgage and the cars. Give me access. Instead of regards to provision, do you understand that does not lead to passion or desire?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
I don't think they understand it because they're two different things. Practical needs being met does not lead to desire. It doesn't work like that. What led her to desiring you at the beginning of your relationship was how you treated her, how you talked to her, how you opened up to her, how you romanced her, how you took her out. How you didn't stonewall her and block her out of your internal life. Like these are the things that created that desire for you, that intimacy. And what happens often is, again, because men think that, like, often you hear men say things like, it's wrong for wives to not have sex with their husbands because otherwise they would not have gotten married. Because the reason why men get married is for access to consistent sex, right? Which again makes women feel very special and unique to you, right? Yes. It makes women so excited to be a wife. So exciting. He can now have access to me whenever he wants. Oh my God, I must be a wife. Like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Again, it's this, as a society, we've turned sex into something so vile, right? Instead of it being something that sex is designed to do two things, okay? Number one, obviously procreation, to make sure that the species keeps going, right? Like people ask, okay, well, if it's just about procreation, why did God make it feel good? Because he was smart enough to know that if it didn't feel good, we wouldn't do it. And then the species will die off. That's why. That's why it feels good, okay? But number one, procreation, is reason number one. And then reason number two is to bond you to your partner. Why do you need to be bonded to a partner? Because human babies take a very long time to mature. Much longer than other mammals. So in order for us to protect this thing, we have to bond together in order to now protect this thing and make sure that we're there protecting it into maturity. That's the other thing. For us to stay connected to each other, for us to be intimate with each other, for us to be bonded to each other. That's the second thing. So again, when I keep hearing men say things like, oh, men just want to get it off and they'll give it to anybody and give them this woman and that woman. And I'm just like, sir.
So does it mean that much to them?
So does it mean that much to you? So if it doesn't mean that much to you, why are you bringing that into your marriage? If it doesn't mean that much to you, why are you bringing it into your relationship? You're saying it's just like, getting a sip of water to you. Like it's nothing. Like I had a sip of water and I'm moving on with my day. So why are you bringing that into your relationship? You are the one devaluing it. You are the one turning it into something that has very little value to you. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like that, and it's extremely frustrating because it's like, sir, stop devaluing it. If it matters to you, make sure your partner understands why it matters to you, not because you feel like you have a right to have access to it. That is very different. She is not a garage.
100%.
She is not. You do
100%.
not have automatic access simply because she is your wife.
100%.
It's not what it's designed to do. That's not the point of it. The point of it is for you and your partner to show that you love each other, you're still connected to each other, you're still bonded to each other. And if you want to have more children so that you can have children with each other, that's the whole entire point. Does it feel good? Yes, but feeling good is a plus to it. That's what it is. Do you understand what I'm saying? But we've turned into something so unbelievably vile. You understand what I'm saying? That sometimes just like, what is the problem? Do you get what I'm saying? Because I get it. It's like, say it again, honey.
This thing that you're getting from this woman type of thing.
Kind of like sometimes like in my mind, I just imagine, right, instead of a shared experience, we are sharing this moment together. We are bonding together. We are being intimate with each other. We are staying close and connected to each other. That's what that sex is supposed to be in a relationship. It's not just supposed to be, like you just said, like just this thing that I'm taking away from you. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's not what it is. Because often, like I'll think about it like this, right? So often when men talk about women and sex and, we need a new one and we got a new one, and all that, whatever. It's whatever. I couldn't care less. I watch my male dogs bang each other all day. I couldn't care less, right? I really couldn't care less because I understand the biological drive for it. That is different from the human ability to make wise decisions. Two completely different things. But the thing is that this is how I imagine it. I imagine that for some men, they view the female vagina as if it's like some type of like an oyster or a clam, and there's a pearl inside, right? That clam or that oyster only makes one pearl, and his job in life is to go and collect as many pearls as he wants. You know, go to multiple vaginas, collect that pearl, and he's gonna put them on a string, and he's gonna tie this beautiful pearl necklace around his neck like Ursula from The Little Mermaid, and he's gonna live forever. You know, it's almost like it's his immortality. He gets more life because of it. That's how they treat it. So you guys keep that's how they act. You keep devaluing this thing and saying that it's nothing to a man because he'll take it from anybody at any time, however, whenever. And you're surprised why your sex gets impacted in your relationship. You keep saying that, well, because I've had you before, you weren't going to feel as good to me as the next chick, and you're confused why she's not in the mood, and you're confused why she doesn't feel attractive, and you're confused why she doesn't feel sexy. You told her the next chick is more important to you because you haven't had her yet. What are you expecting? Then that's the thing. And even when we talk about society and the beauty standards and the nonsense men say, sometimes I'm just like, do you guys even hear yourself sometimes? They'll say like, oh, you know, when women complain and say, well, I don't feel as attractive anymore, or I just had a baby and my body's not the same anymore, her husband will still complain. Right. But are you going to do anything to change this absurd beauty standard that the public is just pushing everywhere, that a woman is supposed to look like a freaking mannequin without a single flaw on her freaking body? What are you going to do about that?
Oh, okay. That's what you meant. I'm like, I don't know. Now it's the body. No,
I'm not talking. I'm saying without a single flaw on her body.
Yeah.
Right. What are you going to do about that? What are you going to do about the fact that there's an expectation that she has double D's but that aren't affected by gravity? Like, what's she supposed to do about that? It's heavy, it's weight, it's going. She takes that bra off, it's going to droop a little bit. It's gotten to a point where it's absolutely absurd. You have to understand that your wife or your girlfriend is living in a society that is pushing an absurd, unrealistic beauty standard. That's number one. Yeah. Number two, you have to understand that when you say things like, oh, sex for a man, he can separate sex from love, you are devaluing sex in your relationship. When you say things like, oh, sex with a new, you know, the new vagina is always going to be better than the one that you had. Okay. Then she's saying, all right, then I'm not going to give it to you anymore. Oh, but I deserve access to it. You already told her it's not going to be good to you. You already told her.
What's in it for her?
What's in it? What the hell is in it for her? It doesn't feel good. She doesn't orgasm from it. She feels ashamed from it. She feels like her body doesn't look good enough. And you keep telling her, tapping her on her shoulder, talking about, can I get some? What is the expectation? What is the expectation, babe? I'm just asking, what is the expectation? You are devaluing this thing, and then you're confused why it's not happening in your relationship. You're confused why it's not happening in your marriage. It doesn't make any sense.
And as you're sitting here blaming women, because someone has to be blamed, right? As we're sitting here blaming women and saying, you know, women don't take accountability and it's always the men's fault and men's fault for everything. I get it. I still struggle with that sometimes. I would love to defeat Coach Mel in a debate one day. I would love to do it. It's very hard.
That's not true. It's not true. It's not true. It depends on the topic. That's not true. If it's a topic that I'm more knowledgeable on, that makes sense. If it's a topic that you're more knowledgeable on, that's different. We're talking about two different things. It depends on the topic.
I cannot even beat her by telling her that she is better at something. It depends on the topic. Just showing you right there. I just told her she's better at something than me, and I can't even win that.
I'm saying it depends on the topic is what I'm saying.
You're being
but it makes sense.
You're being combative.
I 100% can be combative.
You're being
and yet I'll be the sweetest person anybody's ever met. But I can be combative. This is true.
You're combative. You're back talking me. Yeah. You're disrespecting my manhood.
Yeah.
What else? All that good stuff, right? Yep. So again, but you know, at the end of the day, man, you know, like the saying goes, get in where you fit in, man. Find out where you fit in and make that your superpower and